Have you ever been right on the brink of a breakthrough, only to turn away at the last moment? You set an ambitious goal, plan your next move, even feel the rush of motivation, then hesitate, stall, and watch the chance slip away. There's a voice inside whispering caution and casting doubt. You make promises to write, to speak up, to network, but at the last second, you hit snooze, cancel, scroll mindlessly. Why do you stop yourself when it matters most? Feel that ache, a tightening in your chest, as you replay the missed moments. Each decision to hold back chips away at your confidence and hides your best potential. It's not just laziness or excuses. Beneath every act of avoidance lives a story you've been telling yourself for years. Self-sabotage isn't just a flaw. It's an urgent message. You battle procrastination, perfectionism, and fear, but never reach the root. The harder you push, the stronger your resistance becomes. You get caught in a loop, striving, faltering, and feeling ashamed. Picture the mask you wear, ambition and competence on the surface, doubt and judgment lurking behind. You celebrate wins, then obsess over faults. Your inner critic becomes louder than your progress, convincing you that you're destined to fail. Society shames mistakes and glorifies endless hustle. So you hide your vulnerability, believing that admitting struggle is weakness. But maybe true freedom only comes when you face what's beneath the mask. Ask yourself, what keeps you from stepping forward? Is it, I don't deserve success, I'll just fail again? It's safer not to be seen? If so, maybe self-sabotage is trying to protect you from deeper pain. Right now, you stand at a crossroads. Repeat the cycle, or dare to look beneath the surface. The journey starts with asking what and who you're really hiding from, and discovering the patterns that have been shaping your actions for a lifetime. You've begun to question the mask, but what drives the critic behind it? Think back to the moment you froze before a crucial step. You felt a surge of unease, followed by a script in your mind. You're not ready, or what if you fail? These aren't random thoughts. They're echoes of unconscious patterns shaped by your past. Carl Jung warned, until you make the unconscious conscious, it will direct your life and you will call it fate. That pattern of doubt isn't fate. It's your unconscious steering you away from perceived threats to your identity. Consider how cognitive dissonance plays its part. Leon Festinger found that when actions conflict with beliefs, you feel psychological tension. You believe you're capable, yet your behavior says otherwise. To ease the tension, you change your behavior, quitting the project rather than challenging the belief. Every time you pause to rationalize avoidance, I need more preparation. This isn't the right time. You reinforce the pattern. The unconscious remains unchallenged, and the pattern grows stronger. Now, turn to Albert Bandura's concept of self-efficacy, the foundation of your belief in your own competence. You might say, I believe I can succeed. But what's your true score? Each small avoidance chips away at self-efficacy. You skip the networking event, and a piece of your confidence crumbles. Before you know it, that voice inside sounds more convincing than your conscious intention. Your competence script rewrites itself. I don't belong here. Then there's Sigmund Freud's landscape of defense mechanisms. When anxiety around success arises, your psyche deploys shields. Projection, you blame external chaos. Denial, you refuse to see risks. Rationalization, you dress fear in logic. You tell yourself, the market is too saturated, when really you fear judgment. You shrug off feedback as irrelevant, yet beneath that shrug lies a terror of not measuring up. Freud observed that these defenses operate automatically, protecting you from discomfort but binding you to old stories. Picture this. You prepare to share your idea. Then suddenly you spot flaws in your plan. That flaw finding isn't critique. It's your shadow protecting you. The shadow, as Jung described, houses the parts you reject. Fear, shame, vulnerability. These rejected parts gather strength in darkness, only to erupt when you step into the light. Your shadow whispers, stay hidden, and you obey without noticing the strings. You might resist seeing yourself as puppet and puppeteer. You assure yourself, I'm just cautious, or I'm practical. But these conscious narratives mask a deeper dynamic. Your unconscious protecting an old wound, Perhaps a childhood critic who told you to be perfect, or a past failure that taught you hiding was safer. Every unconscious script is a loop you've inherited, unedited. Think about where these patterns originated. Did you grow up hearing "don't brag," "stay humble," or "keep your head down"? Those messages instilled a shadow belief. Success invites punishment. Now, every time you stand out, the shadow lunges to silence you. Recognition of this mechanism feels liberating and scary. Pause for a moment. Reflect on a recent incident where you self-sabotaged. Can you trace the thoughts back to an older narrative? Can you feel the unconscious impulse before it hijacked your action? Naming the pattern is the first step toward weakening it. But awareness alone isn't enough to dismantle a script that's operated for decades. You're standing at the edge of two worlds, one where you remain driven by unseen forces, and another where you claim authorship of your story. The next step demands you to explore the shadow itself, to meet those disowned parts with curiosity rather than judgment. Will you step into that unknown territory, or will you return to familiar scripts that feel safer? You've uncovered the hidden dynamics. Now you must enter the territory where those dynamics live. Think of your mind as a house with rooms you rarely visit. Shadow work invites you to open the locked door to the attic of repressed material. You might feel resistance rising, a tightening in your chest, or a swirl of excuses. "I don't have time for this. This feels too intense." That resistance is itself part of the pattern, a guardian preventing you from meeting the parts you've disowned. Begin by identifying a recurring self-sabotage moment. Perhaps you freeze at deadline time, or you numb out with distractions when a project demands vulnerability. Write down the exact moment you make your exit, the thought that precedes it, the sensation in your body, and the story you tell yourself to justify walking away. Don't rush this. Detail is your ally. When you capture the texture of the experience, you strip the pattern of its camouflage. Next, practice the active imagination technique Jung developed. Close your eyes, breathe deeply, and bring to mind the voice of your inner critic. Ask it directly, "What are you protecting me from?" Then listen without judgment. You may hear words like, "I'm frightened of failing publicly," or "I don't want to feel abandoned." Thank this part, "I see you, and I appreciate your efforts to keep me safe." This simple exchange transforms your relationship with the critic from adversarial to collaborative. Now, locate that feeling of shame or fear in your body. Notice where it resides: your throat, your gut, your chest. Place a hand there and breathe into the sensation. Acknowledge silently, "I feel you." Allow whatever arises, tears, tension, images, to surface. You're giving voice and space to what was buried. Over time, this practice weakens the shadow's charge, inviting integration rather than repression. Shadow work also involves reframing projections. When you catch yourself blaming circumstances or criticizing others, pause and ask, "Where in me does this feeling belong?" If you label a colleague unfocused, check inwardly. Do I fear my own lack of direction? When envy surfaces at someone's success, ask, "What part of me longs for this achievement?" Each projection you reverse is a hidden fragment reclaimed. Expect turbulence. You might feel disoriented as old defenses shake. You may question your identity. Who am I without the critic's voice guiding me? Hold that question with compassion. It signifies growth. The boundary between conscious and unconscious blurs, and that discomfort is proof you're dissolving stuck patterns. Support accelerates this process. Share your experience in a trusted group or seek guidance from a therapist trained in Jungian techniques. A book like Owning Your Own Shadow by Robert A. Johnson can offer structured exercises. You might consider a guided shadow work course that walks you through deeper prompts. These resources provide structure when the journey feels overwhelming. Notice too how resistance often manifests as busyness, extra meetings, minor chores, endless scrolling. Shadow work demands you reclaim those pauses. Schedule brief daily check-ins. Today, what part of me am I ignoring? Jot down whatever arises. Over weeks, these micro practices build momentum, shifting unconscious patterns into conscious choice. Remember, facing the shadow isn't a one-time event. It's a lifelong dialogue. With each encounter, You integrate more of yourself, converting self-sabotage triggers into signposts for growth. That perfectionism that once stalled you becomes a commitment to excellence balanced with compassion. That fear of failure transforms into curiosity about your edge. But there's one final barrier before transformation takes root: resistance to integration. You might hear, "I've changed enough," or "I don't need to keep doing this work." That voice is your old shadow seeking to preserve its territory. When it speaks, lean in. Ask, what would I miss if I stopped exploring? The answer reveals how deeply integration matters. You've opened the attic door, met the guardian, and begun reclaiming lost parts. But how do you translate these insights into daily life? In the next segment, you'll learn science-backed strategies, practical tools woven into your routines to empower your newfound awareness and build a life free from self-sabotage. You've faced the shadows and heard their messages. Now you move into empowerment. Imagine your inner world as a garden overrun with weeds of doubt and fear. Science-backed strategies are the tools that help you prune those weeds and plant seeds of confidence. Remember Albert Bandura's insight. Self-efficacy is believing you can succeed in specific situations. Your first task is to foster those beliefs with small, tangible wins. Begin with micro goals. Choose a task that once triggered self-sabotage, perhaps drafting the introduction to a project. Set a timer for 10 minutes and commit to writing a rough paragraph. When the timer ends, pause and acknowledge the achievement. I took that step. Small wins like this aren't insignificant. They strengthen your self-efficacy muscle and rewire neural pathways towards success. Next, craft implementation intentions, if-then plans proven to accelerate goal attainment. Gallwitzer's research shows that linking a specific cue to an action makes follow-through automatic. For example, if I notice doubt bubbling up, then I will name it out loud. That's fear speaking. And take 3 deep breaths. Write these on Post-it notes and place them where you'll see them often: your mirror, laptop screen, or desk. At the 6-minute mark of today's video, you felt the tug of resonance with these ideas. If that struck a chord, subscribe now for weekly techniques to nurture your growth. This community will hold you accountable as you implement these practices. Another powerful tool is mindfulness. Jon Kabat-Zinn teaches that observing your thoughts without judgment creates space for choice. Schedule a daily 3-minute mindfulness break. Sit quietly, focus on your breath, and simply note any self-critical thoughts that arise. I'm not good enough. They'll judge me. Label them as passing clouds in the sky of your awareness. This simple practice weakens the old saboteur's voice and strengthens your capacity to respond rather than react. Integrate rituals to signal commitment to yourself. Carl Jung noted the potency of symbolic acts to bridge unconscious and conscious realms. Light a candle, play a specific song, or perform a brief stretching routine before engaging in important tasks. Over time, these rituals prime your mind to shift from avoidance to action, inviting your psyche to align with your intentions. Along the way, revisit the active imagination exercise to maintain dialogue with repressed parts. Journal a letter from your future self, someone who has mastered these strategies. Describe the freedom you experience, the clarity you feel, the pride in overcoming old patterns. Writing from that vantage point communicates to your unconscious that transformation isn't hypothetical, it's your emerging reality. Balance these practices with self-compassion. Kristen Neff's research on self-kindness shows that responding to setbacks with warmth rather than criticism accelerates growth. When you slip into old habits, pause and place a hand on your heart. Say to yourself, I'm human, I'm learning. That compassion soothes your nervous system, reducing the power of the inner critic. By weaving micro goals, implementation intentions, mindfulness, rituals, active imagination, and self-compassion into your routines, you create a resilient framework for change. You're not simply reacting to impulses, you're proactively shaping your responses. Yet, the true test of empowerment is consistency. Resistance will surface, old patterns will reappear when you least expect them. When they do, lean on your toolbox. Revisit your if-then plans, honor your rituals, and practice mindful observation. Each time you choose a conscious strategy over unconscious reaction, you deepen the roots of your new patterns. You're now equipped with scientifically supported strategies to disrupt self-sabotage and cultivate self-efficacy. But knowledge alone isn't enough. You must integrate these practices so thoroughly that they become part of your identity. In the next segment, you'll discover how to weave these tools into the fabric of your daily life, ensuring that transformation endures long after motivation fades. You've planted the seeds and tended your inner garden. Now envision its full bloom. Imagine waking each morning free from the knot of doubt, greeted instead by an open curiosity about your day. You move through challenges without that familiar freeze. You pause, name the fear, and choose action. That choice feels natural because you've rewired your response system with micro goals, if-then plans, mindfulness, and rituals. This is integration, the stage where your practices fuse into your identity. Jung called this the transcendent function, the bridge that unites unconscious impulses and conscious intention. You've woven light and shadow into a cohesive self. Where once perfectionism stifled you, now discernment guides you. Where anxiety once hijacked your focus, attentional control allows you to observe and redirect. You feel both grounded and expansive, rooted in self-awareness, open to possibility. To sustain this wholeness, build a weekly integration ritual. Each Sunday evening, review one shadow trigger from the past week, an impulse to quit, a wave of self-criticism, a moment of envy. Spend 5 minutes journaling the trigger, the feelings it aroused, and how you responded. Acknowledge successes, note when you paused, named the fear, and applied an if-then strategy. Celebrate these victories, even small ones, because they reinforce new neural pathways. Then set one micro goal for the coming week to deepen integration, like responding to doubt with a 3-minute mindfulness break. Pair this with a monthly reflection. At the end of each month, revisit your journal entries and letters from your future self. Notice patterns of growth. Perhaps you no longer procrastinate on high-stakes tasks. Or maybe you've begun mentoring a friend through their own sabotaging scripts. These tangible markers remind you how far you've come and fuel further momentum. Integration also thrives through community. Share your journey with trusted peers. Post your I choose awareness affirmation in the comments below and read others' insights. When you witness someone naming their own shadow trigger, you reinforce your commitment to vulnerability and growth. True individuation unfolds not in isolation but in dialogue, where witnessing others' courage strengthens your own. Life after transformation is not perfection, it's fluid embodiment. You'll still encounter fear, doubt, and unexpected setbacks. But now you recognize them as signals, not verdicts. When doubt arises, you ask, what story am I telling myself? When shame flares, you say, I'm learning. Each moment becomes an invitation to practice integration anew. This transformation ripples outward. As your self-efficacy soars, your creativity flourishes. Projects you once abandoned now receive your steady commitment, and your accomplishments become chapters in a narrative of growth rather than proof of worth. Relationships deepen because you no longer unconsciously push people away to avoid feeling unworthy. Instead, you invite authenticity and compassion into your connections. Your final challenge: type I choose awareness in the comments to affirm your commitment to ongoing integration. Share one insight you've gained, perhaps the micro goal that surprised you, or a shadow belief you transformed into curiosity. Your declaration will inspire others standing where you once stood. And remember, this is only one chapter of your journey. Stay courageous, stay curious, and above all, continue to choose awareness.